Hey everyone, how's it going? Today, let's take an in-depth look at my 1995 Buick Riviera. And this is going to be a full and in-depth review of the Riviera. We'll start it up, show the engine, get an exhaust clip and go over the performance data, take it on a test drive, and show you a bunch of the features on the interior as well as exterior. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and start it up, let it run. The exterior color is known as light Adriatic blue metallic with an Adriatic blue leather interior. Fires right up in just under 116,000 miles. The Riviera came standard with a partial leather-wrapped steering wheel, with the leather portion coming up top and down below, with a painted-to-match rubberized portion coming across the side. Plenty of stylistic elements, tapering off into a thicker portion across here, into a thinner portion up at the top crest of the wheel. The Riviera also came standard with Buick's magnetic variable effort power assisted steering system, which provides a nice balance of smooth feedback as well as handling that automatically adjusts for the city and highway driving aspects. The only transmission option was GM's Turbo Hydromatic 4T60-E automatic transmission with electronic overdrive and low gear selection, all wrapped in a leather shift knob. And so, we'll go ahead and cut on the headlamps. They are automatic, as well as the hazards. Automatic driver's side window. And we're going to check out the exterior, shall we? Since its first introduction in 1963, the Buick Riviera lineups have always been regarded as Buick's premium luxury coupes. Instant classics with bold, seductive styling as well as performance. As they changed over the years, they became more innovative and memorable, and it wasn't until the late 80s and early 90s where they started to level off as far as what made a Riviera a Riviera. Then comes in 1995 with the introduction of an all-new Riviera, a car that is almost completely new in styling, comfort, performance, and handling. From the smoothness of its beautiful curves and beautiful paint finish to the modest Riviera emblems that you found scattered throughout the vehicle, it's definitely quite one of the most unique vehicles GM had introduced in the 90s. Up front, you have integrated turn signal lamps that automatically activate when you flip on the turn signal itself, with a bold and projecting front end with a satin gray finish coming around the bottom of the vehicle. Comparing this car to the original 1963 Riviera, you can definitely tell how GM looked back and saw the philosophy of build with that car and attributed it to this modern model. While there were several different optional alloy wheels available, this particular 16-inch is fitted to a 225/60 set of tires with ventilated 4-wheel disc brakes, anti-lock brakes, as well as traction control. Now what's really cool about this car, what I was saying about the original Riviera, is the original Riviera's philosophy was having a stylish luxury coupe, but not overly done with too much chrome trim. It had sparse trim around the windows as well as some modest grille accent here and there, but it wasn't a bold car necessarily as far as like a Cadillac or something like that would go. It's a lot more refined, it's a lot more curvy, and that's exactly what the 8th generation Riviera is all about. When you consider the bold accent lines coming from the headlamps all the way back to the rear lamps, the oval headlamps and grille and the matching rear set, it's also functional. It actually has an overall drag coefficient of around 0.33. Even in an effort to reduce wind noise, the mirrors were specifically sculpted for this vehicle to produce the most quiet ride possible. The steel cage around the Riviera's frame is absolutely rock solid also. It's actually measured in hertz, or the frequency that you put out. The higher the frequency, the more solidity the structure has to it. This particular one is around 25 hertz, which is definitely really good for a car back in the 90s. So with its strong, sturdy structure, steel beams in the doors, and actual crumple zones, it's actually a pretty safe car as well. That adds to the increased stability and overall safety feeling, also with the independent suspension providing a nice controlled ride around the curves, giving the driver a lot more of a spirited driver's feel as far as a personal luxury coupe can go. And as you come across the beautifully sculpted rear end, you have that overhang that kind of shoots up across the Riviera emblem in the back, kind of giving it the definition of an integrated spoiler or a more racy feel coming out towards the back. Unique oval tail lamps with 3 bulb inserts on each side, as well as integrated backup lamps. Also, instead of Buick emblems, you have Riviera emblems subtly found throughout the vehicle, as well as a recessed license plate housing that utilizes no screws, and I'll show that in just a second. The Riviera's body is wide in the middle and narrows towards the front and the rear, creating quite a unique shape. Down below, finished off by a flared metallic rear fascia, as well as dual exhaust tips down below. Overall length was around 207.2 inches with a 75-inch width and a 55.2-inch height. Total curb weight was around 3,741 pounds. And like I said, probably one of the neatest features about the trunk area is that the license plate is actually recessed behind the taillight housing. So, that little cavity right there, you just slip your license plate in, drop it in, and it falls in place. There's no screw holes or anything like that because it's fixed behind that chrome bezel. Creates a nice, clean, and seamless look. If you need to change it, just pull it up and slip it out of the housing. And we're going to pop the hood. The Riviera came standard with GM's 3800 Series 2 sequential tune port fuel injected V6. You can either get them naturally aspirated, such as this one we have here, or supercharged. For '95, when the Series 2 V6 was introduced, almost every component of the V6 was new. New cylinder heads housed larger intake valves and revised combustion chambers for an improved fuel flow as well as better performance. The power output actually extends to the upper end of the RPM band due to ladder valve train components as well as a reduced intake manifold. The smooth, linear acceleration that the Riviera produces is the result. Whether in stop-and-go traffic or freeway traffic, it's a nice, smooth transition between the both, with a higher compression ratio and dual knock sensor to help produce a spirited driving experience while being able to run the car on regular unleaded gas. Performance data for the naturally aspirated 3800 include 205 horsepower at 5,200 RPM and 230 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM. And with a 20-gallon fuel tank running on regular unleaded gas, it achieves an EPA estimated miles per gallon rating of around 19 city, 29 highway. Pretty good for a 3.8 V6. In regular driving, I average around 24-25. And while the 3800 is a fantastic engine as far as reliability and dependability goes, it is definitely no race car. 0 to 60 time is around 9.9 seconds in the naturally aspirated form, while quarter-mile times are 17.3 seconds at around 85 miles an hour. And as far as some performance data on the supercharged variant, it bumps it up to around 225 horsepower for 1995 because I believe it still used the Series 1 3800 just for 1995, then you had a Series 2 supercharged on 96 through 99. And a little bit of an unrelated note, later on when the Series 3 3800 was introduced, it was the first super ultra low emissions certified power plant to come out on the market. You could also get it supercharged, but it also had forged internals and everything like that, which made it lighter and more efficient than the Series 2. Legendary series of engines. The biggest difference with the supercharged models isn't necessarily the horsepower with that little bit of bump to 225, but it's definitely the torque, which raises at about 45 to 275 foot-pounds. That decreases the 0 to 60 time to about 8.5 seconds. And then in 1996, when you had the Series 2 supercharged, it bumped the horsepower even more to 240, and the torque all the way up to 280. Which decreased the 0 to 60 time just a little bit more to about 8.4 seconds. But that also decreased the fuel economy a little bit, limiting it to around 19 city, 24 highway. And just a little modification that I did, there was a little patch missing here when I first bought the car, so I repainted the liner and then painted that silver for a little bit of color contrast to match the top of the engine cover. Very clean look. wouldn't say the 3800 is necessarily a fast engine at all, but the power is delivered nice and smooth. A lot of times the transmission is very slick, and the fact that you can't even feel the shifting, the only time you really feel it shift necessarily is when you're under harder acceleration. Handling is also average. It's a domestic luxury coupe, so it's not gonna handle like a sports car or anything like that, but brakes are also pretty good. It's got a fairly reasonable turning radius. All in all, it's a pretty easy car to maneuver. The ride is very controlled, has an integrated air ride suspension system that automatically adjusts as you go down the road, so rough roads are not a problem. It's not as soft and squishy as my Roadmaster is, but it's definitely nice and even. The Buick Riviera was absolutely over-engineered for a domestic luxury car back in the 90s. I mean, in my personal opinion, it was one of the more beautiful luxury designs that GM had at the time. I mean, you had other coupes also, like the Cadillac Eldorado that had the North Star V8. It was front-wheel drive, it definitely had the performance advantage, but as far as just the bold, smooth, sleek styling, it didn't have it. It still had that square, boxier Cadillac look that was traditional for years and years to come. So when I see the Riviera, I see something graceful yet powerful underneath its skin. Something in the making of a possible future classic. Now there were a couple little caveats to the Riviera, something that I've also noticed over time. Something specific, or a couple things specific with the 1995 models, something really with all of them. But the 3800 has a natural tendency to have a little bit of a vibration to them, I guess. For the whole time, GM essentially was never able to get rid of that little bit of vibration, so they kind of worked around it. With the Riviera, they used these soft engine motor mounts that pretty much got rid of it essentially for this application, but they go away, they wear out really easily. So sometimes with the Riviera, when you get in it and start driving it, you don't notice this, but when you're sitting still and idling, you can feel there's a little bit of a shake, sort of like almost like it's idling rough, but it's not. But it's just because those engine mounts, as they get a little bit harder and wear out over time, it starts to make that little background shake start coming about again. Also, and that little rattle starts to appear too. Sometimes this little center console will rattle up against the shift housing. Just needs a little bit of extra sound insulation or a little bit of padding or something in there. As far as wind noise also, it's almost non-existent. It's actually pretty cool. These older Rivieras, especially the 95s and stuff, have a tendency for the window weather stripping to kind of flatten or go bad over time, so you have a tendency for increased wind noise, which you would usually just replace the weather stripping and be good to go, or adjust some of the channels that the weather stripping fits into. But this one, it's really not too bad. I adjusted it a little bit when I first got it just to tone it down a bit, but with these frameless windows, the window actually sits up inside the door main seal, so it kind of creates a nice tight effect, so to speak. Steering is very smooth, light, reasonably responsive. interior styling of the Riviera, 8th generation model specifically, is absolutely phenomenal as far as the engineering and build quality goes. It is also largely similar to the original Riviera that was first introduced in 1963 as far as the large pod gauges go, as well as the overhanging dash. And not to mention a touch in the center console, and I'll insert a few pictures here so you can actually see what I mean. Now, just to kind of take you through the interior of the 63 Riviera, if you see the link at the bottom of the video here, you can actually click on that and go to the actual full video review tour that I did on this car a couple months ago. Now you see the big pod gauge cluster and a very similar stylistic gauge accenting, with the door panel coming around with the curving window switches coming about, as well as that flowing down center console. It's really quite neat when you just take a moment and just really look at it. The interior build quality of the Riviera is absolutely fantastic. Everywhere you look, there's a bit of padded trim, carpeted trim, especially going up across the door here, carving out into the dash. Very much padded. Lower speaker inserts, your trunk and fuel cap release, modest storage with carpeted portion and side illumination, soft padded area here, as well as interior ambient lighting coming from the handle up there, as well as down in the door handle. The seats are one of the more unique things in the Riviera, and the fact they were designed in collaboration with physical therapists as well as many Buick engineers to provide some of the most comfortable seats available in '95. They were essentially designed to eliminate fatigue and long-term driving, as well as the overall comfort of practically every body type. Even the lumbar is actually a big strap that comes across the back here that tensions up and provides equal pressure across the bottom instead of a massive inflatable bag or something in there like many other cars have that could actually put pressure points on your back and make it even worse over time. That one seamless motion definitely makes a difference, trust me. Full power adjustment located down below here, and the power lumbar adjustment. This vehicle also came with all the extra accessory power options, including 2-person memory, your full power mirror adjustment here, your heated seat for the driver's seat, where in later years it was available for the passenger seat as well, all of your power windows and power locks. Unique aluminum door sills, as well as aluminum accented pedals, and a manually tilting steering wheel. And just to highlight it on a little bit further, my favorite part of the vehicle is how curved the dash is and flowing back into that recessed area. Extremely unique. So let's go ahead and see how she sounds. Nice and smooth. Has a little bit more of a mechanical note to it. And we're going to shut her up. For 1995, it also came standard with a 6-speaker Concert 2 audio system with in-dash Delco cassette player. Also came with the optional single-disc CD player located in the bottom of the dash. It's very simple in its operation. A little digital display, bass and treble adjustment, setting your preset stations down below, as well as your seek and other various radio options. Also, electronic dual-zone climate control system that's controlled over there for the passenger. I'll show that just a little bit more in a second. But it's also very simple. Your fan speed adjustment, temperature, one-touch automatic mode, as well as your different zones. To activate the passenger adjustment, just hit passenger zone. That automatically turns on the controls for the other side, where you'd essentially just twist the dial back and forth. So much for your promises. The night, the day you let padded A-pillars, dimming function, auto dimming rear view mirror, automatic opening sunroof, tinted glass, interior illumination, as well as an old school garage opener. Basically, you fix the remote up in there and then just press that button. Activates it by those little blocks that you set up depending on the size of your remote. Your flowing center console, center air vents, illuminated ashtray, power outlet and door lighter. I'm also proud to say that this vehicle has never been smoked in. As we continue down, hideaway cup holders. They're also padded with styrofoam to absorb any condensation that may come off the cups. Full center console, chain storage, good amount of storage space. It's also padded. And just in case you didn't see, you have to push that down to release it. And one of the more beautiful things about the interior is definitely the speedometer cluster, directly paying homage to that original Riviera. Gauge pods located all around, and they're all very functional. Your hazards, airbag light, as well as seatbelt warning light, trip reset, rear defroster. Very comprehensive and very modern for its age. Located around the steering wheel, you have your wiper and cruise control settings, and on the steering wheel, your radio controls, volume, as well as temperature adjustment for the air conditioning system. And we're going to shut her down. When you shut the vehicle off with the doors closed, the radio will actually remain on for a period of time. Pretty nice feature if you were just sitting in the car and wanting to listen to a little bit of radio. Gotta flip up the back seat. Very plush bench style seat in the rear. Styled in a similar fashion as the front. I'm 5'10", and with the normal seating position for me up front, I have plenty of room in the rear. Having probably about 2.5 inches of leg space, and probably 1.5 inches or so of head space. It's also extremely comfortable. Rear air vents. Rear illumination, coat hooks. And the padded trim also drapes onto the back panels with another integrated ashtray. And the padded door scheme comes back here that follows everything else that goes around the vehicle. So let's go and check out the rest of the vehicle, shall we? Pop the fuel cap. And a place to set the cap up top. As far as trunk space goes, it's around 17.4 cubic feet, which is definitely not bad for a luxury coupe. Perfect for any everyday item. It's also illuminated up top there, cargo net. I still have to spot clean the trunk a little bit, but the spare tire is located down below, and I also have an original dealer sales brochure from 1995, essentially going over all the innovations, structure, styling, safety, interior amenities. It's a very cool thing to have. And probably my favorite thing that actually came with the car also was the original dealer window sticker. This car originally retailed for $32,000. Base price was around $28,000. Add the supercharged and it'll probably top around $35,000 or so. But I'll just hover over this real quick and you can pause the video and read the different options that came with it. Pretty awesome. Especially for a car like this that I truly treasure. It just adds to the historical value of it to me. Same power adjustments for the passenger seat that you find on the driver's, except minus the lumbar. It's also got a pretty nice sized glove box. Perfect for just about any everyday item. While the Riviera definitely may not be for everyone, anyone who does get the chance to drive one or find one that's in fantastic shape definitely will appreciate everything that I've talked about in this video. I've always wanted one of these 8th generation Rivieras, but the people who have them tend to hold on to them. They're extremely reliable, as far as the engine goes and everything, upwards of 200 to 300,000 miles. So when I got the chance to buy this 95, I absolutely jumped at the opportunity. For its unique looks, definitely departing from anything domestic at the time, and definitely a future classic in the Riviera history books. This concludes our presentation of the 1995 Buick Riviera. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and be sure to stay tuned next time. There's a lot more where that came from. Take care, everybody.